Kamala Harris is a woman of color in an interracial marriage.
The rest was not great. Let's be honest. It was a terrible night last night. It was a terrible night for women, for children, for the hundreds of thousands of hardworking immigrants who make this country go, for healthcare, for our climate, for science, for journalism, for justice, for free speech. It was a terrible night for poor people, for the middle class, for seniors who rely on Social Security, for our allies in Ukraine, for NATO, for the truth, and democracy and decency. And it was a terrible night for everyone who voted against him. And guess what? It was a bad night for everyone who voted for him, too. You just don't realize it yet.
It's bad for truth, democracy. I thought he was going to say the American way. It was going to be a Superman ad. That guy's a lunatic.
Not ignore there is still a lot of racism and gender bias in this country.
Here we go. Racism, gender bias. Democrats is the party of racism.
And I think for us to ignore that and not try to bring that front and center so we can heal that would mean that we would end up in the same place. Kamala Harris.
Didn't we elect a African-American president? Or a president of color? I don't understand.
Is a woman of color in an interracial marriage and running as a woman to be the head of state. That is something a lot of Americans are not ready to deal with.
I'm surprised at the result, but I'm not surprised. As a woman of color, I was so hopeful that a mixed race woman married to a Jewish guy could be elected president of this country. And I think that it had nothing to do with policy. I think this was a referendum of cultural resentment in this country.
Pointing back to 2016, sexism, I'm going to say also racism and bias had to have played a role.
Now, let me state the obvious. One person is a woman. And this now makes Trump 2 for 2 in beating out a woman to become our president. Let me just ask this simply. It could be tough to answer. Is this country not ready for a woman to become president?
If she were a 6'4" white man from Arkansas or from, Florida, and she ran a good middle of the road campaign talking about reaching out, do you think she would be losing by that much? If she could chew tobacco and carry a shotgun and talk about football and be a guy's guy, I mean, you tell me.
There are levels of sexism and racism that clearly a lot of people in this country are willing to tolerate.
Let's be honest about this, okay? Let's be absolutely blunt about it. There were appeals to racism in this campaign, and there is racial bias in this country, and there is sexism in this country. And anybody who thinks that that did not in any way impact on the outcome of this race is wrong. I'm not saying that was the main reason that Kamala Harris lost and Donald Trump won.
I think that we've got to be honest. Among Hispanic men and black men, there's a lot of misogyny. And I think that we've got to deal with the reality that he appealed to this whole false macho thing that some black men and some Latino men went for.
How would you explain that to a 14-year-old today? How would you explain this election?
I'll try not to think about my boys, because...
Yes.
But I think you would say that,
that's the problem with the Democrats. A bunch of wimps.
Amazing things have been done through the American political system. People have been given freedoms that they were denied, and glorious opportunities in this country that you can't get anywhere else. And then awful things have happened in the American system. And you have to fight to make sure that you're doing the good part and not the bad part. They can get on basically one of two buses that are going to take them to a destination they think is meaningful. And you get on the bus, and there are a whole bunch of the people on the bus who just want to be seen and have opportunity in American Democrats. Life. And then there are other people on the bus engaged in the same journey who are there absolutely just for themselves, to get power, to give themselves just more riches and more control over things. And
we have now let misinformation become the accepted information. It has washed over us. Elon Musk, he buys Twitter, and then he uses it almost exclusively to be a propaganda machine, and we've accepted it.
If you remember, Joe Biden's DOJ was trying to shut down Twitter. They were after Elon Musk, if you remember. He bought it for freedom of speech.
We've accepted a narrative that despite an actually great economic recovery, the vibes don't feel good. So we want to reject it and get something else. And the person we are now betting on to change all of it is Donald Trump.
Yes.
A man who did two almost impossible things. He won the American presidency twice, and he drove a casino into the ground. What will the future hold now that America has just decided that we're going to F around and find out?
My takeaway is that the system works. We live in a democracy. People spoke. This is what people wanted. I vehemently disagree with the decision that Americans made, but I feel very, very hopeful that we have a democratic system in this country. We should value it. We should love it.
The voters' fault.
We should protest if the situation arises that we need to protest, which I'm sure it will.
I'm profoundly disturbed. I think if you look at the New York Times this morning, the headline was America makes a perilous choice. I think that in 2016, we didn't know what we would get from a Trump administration, but we know now. And
it's great.
We know now that he will have almost unfettered power. And so I worry not about myself, actually. I don't worry about my station in life. I worry about the working class. I worry about my mother, a retired teacher. I worry about our elderly and their Social Security and their Medicare. I worry about my children's future, especially my daughter, who now has less rights than I have. You feel?
So her daughter doesn't have the right to kill her grandkids, is what she's saying. Now, it's a state's issue now, so if she lives in a state that has abortion, she can have an abortion. If she wants to kill 100 babies, she can. But this is the fear-mongering that they do on The View.
What you feel. Everyone has different emotions. Some people got what they wanted. A lot of people didn't. And you feel anything that comes up, and then you turn around and you say, let's look at the tapes. Let's see what we did. Let's see how we continue to fight for the people that we care about. And you take one step in front of the other. And so here we are today, and I still feel that optimistic because I feel arm in arm with so many people who agree with me. And I'm not going to stop marching.
Tens of millions of Americans, our friends, our neighbors, our family members, voted for Donald Trump. We disagree with him. I know we all do at this table, but they are good, decent people who are patriots and love this country.
Can always say, oh, she should have done this, she should have done this, She did what she did. She was everywhere. She talked to everybody. And people didn't come out. I don't know why, and it doesn't even matter. He's now the president. I'm still not going to say his name.
It is a moment to listen to the voters. And this, I have to say, I've always thought he could win. I thought in the final stretch she might eke it out. I didn't expect it to be this resounding, and I think there are some lessons from it. I think we forget about rural America. I think the working class feels left behind. They feel like the powerful, the elite only care about them and their power. And he spoke to them. We may not have liked his words, but they turned out for him.
I think I'm okay. Tell me what you're thinking.
Well, I'm so proud. I'm so proud of her.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think people realize how hard it is to get to where she was. For her to be selected as vice president after what I think she would tell you was a very disappointing presidential race.
Joe
where
had to
I
pick
think she
somebody worse
kind of
than
lost
him.
her footing and was listening too much to consultants, frankly, and it didn't really exude who she was. And then to be vice president and to step into the most difficult situation in the world, where she had to be completely loyal to Joe Biden and respectful of the fact that he had chosen her, but yet maneuver in a situation. I mean, such political skill. It is just inspiring. People who don't understand what she had to do to get to this moment. And so I'm just very proud of her.
But in the end, you know, if they didn't make their numbers and essentially exceed the numbers that Joe Biden had in the suburbs, and I think we have to be blunt about why. Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. That is what it appears happened in that state, is that if you can't flip enough white women, and we've talked about this on this set numerous times, but it's a state where women lost their reproductive rights, where there was a very heavy push to get women to focus on not putting in place, re-electing, putting back into the White House the person who was responsible for taking those rights away and restoring them. But that message obviously was not enough to get enough white women to vote for.
You mean people don't want to kill their babies? Or enough people don't want to kill their babies?
Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This will be the second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy.
I mean, a lot of folks are wondering, why would Latinos vote for Donald Trump if that means he might deport Abuela? He might deport members of their household. As you know, lots of Latino families in this country are of mixed status. And, a lot of folks are asking on the Democratic side, why would they do this to themselves? Do you want to see mass deportations?
So the first thing that we need to do is close the border. More than 10 million people illegally entered the country. They have to be deportation. So there is no other way around. They have to be deportation. They have to be
deportation
we
camps.
have to respect the laws.
I'm
not saying deportation camps.
Do you want to see people in camps rounded up and put in camps?
No.
Isn't that what you voted for? Isn't that what you voted for?
They are in camps now. More than 300,000 children are missing. So they're in camps now.
Lulu, one of the things that I think we need to talk about is whether or not, folks just had the wool pulled over their eyes. And maybe they were voting on economic issues, but at the end of the day, maybe voting against their own self-interest.